Episode 13 opens with a crab mutant kaijin attacking parents as they take their newborn son home, Kotaro fortunately intervening, as otherwise that infant will be as good as dead. Or worse, join the cast of Tokuger. And it's not exactly an isolated incident, as the crab mutant attacks many other parents. Hell, during these events, Kotaro chases down a runaway baby carriage, in a manner eerily similar to an embarrassing sequence people will be more familiar with from early Power Rangers. In a more unique twist, this is actually a ruse so the crab mutant could get close to Kotaro. However, the giant enemy crab's carapace is too strong for Black's blows to break, necessitating a withdrawal using the road sector. As Kotaro muses on how to beat it, he finds a bloodstain on the road sector. Examining it under a microscope, Kotaro finds the blood full of amoeba, and incidentally finds the composition is flammable. With that knowledge in mind, Kotaro trains in his rider form to improve his strikes, and the quarry a good deal of the fights in the series are shot at, incidentally saving a stray dog from a rock slide he accidentally starts, in a sequence that is admittedly ludicrously hilarious in how random it is. Out of context Tokusatsu is out of context. Anyways, the crab mutant reveals that the abductions were to nurse its brood through their hatching. But the crab mutant got sloppy in his kidnappings, and Kotaro followed its last to its hideout. In battle, Black overpowers the kaijin and breaks through its armor with his improved strikes, subsequently freeing the women and torching the eggs in a mighty blaze. Next, instead of having a plan, the priests just deploy the mammoth mutant to straight out attack Kotaro, and the kaijin is summarily outfought. Realizing even their most physically powerful agents are getting beaten, the trio turn to Kuromatsu, who has developed a serum derived from the Gorgom fruit to increase the strength of their forces. My god. Ongoing serialization. Take that, critics, it does exist in Showa Kamen Rider. While Gorgom remain in short supply, Kuromatsu is determined substitutes to the fruits make up for his serum, some of which turn out to be most plentiful in Tuna. And so the great tuna shortage of late 1987 began, as the bat mutant and mammoth mutant raid the fish markets and marine cold storage for tons of the foodstuff. Out in the cosmos, a billion alien cat girls sensed a disturbance in the tuna, as if millions of chefs suddenly cried out in terror and began weeping. No. Not taking the theft standing, some of the vendors stake out the warehouses to find the thief, only to be accosted by the mammoth. No, you're supposed to punch it after you declare that, otherwise it doesn't work. While injured, the man does let Kotaro know the direction the kaijin headed in when the rider shows. He tracks it down, and happens to be led straight to Kuromatsu's lab. Though Black destroys the lab, the mammoth mutant is still empowered by the stuff, using its enhanced abilities to freeze Black. But Kotaro uses his power stripe to channel heat to his extremities, weakening the ice, and with the mammoth summarily sent back to the Ice Age. Then the rock turtle mutant infiltrates a school, using subtle mind control talents to indoctrinate the kids into studious pursuits on threat of draconian punishments. I would think Gorgom would want the opposite, uniting the kids to rebel against schoolwork, but it's actually meant to breed a general hate of all things, resulting in chaos down the line as society devolves. Regardless, Kotaro picks up on the oddity as he was volunteering his time in coaching a soccer. Really? Don't you have a day job on top of hunting for Gorgom and trying to come up with a way to save your brother? What the hell? Yes, this is widely considered the best Rider series, but even it has some stupid moments in it. Regardless, he notices a lot of the former members suddenly shunning the sport. The first encounter does not go well, with Rock Turtle pulling a Gamera and withdrawing its limbs into its hard shell. Nor does the second battle, the kids being used to attack him with sports equipment. You know, with how often groups of kids end up doing this to him, it's amazing he doesn't develop a hatred of children. In the third fight, however, Black uses his multi-eye ability to scan the turtle, realizing that though its limbs may retract, its head is still vulnerable, and uses that weak point to disable and end it. In episode 16, we open with a sniper attempting to kill a man, but his aim is off, only piercing the man's briefcase. When Kotaro, who was conveniently nearby, catches him, the sniper explains the bullet was meant as a warning, but any elaboration is cut off by a sudden earthquake. And no, it's not a natural one, as common as they can be in the country, but one produced by Gorgom's efforts. See, the earwig mutant can use the resonance of certain quartz crystals to destructive effects, but the crystals the priests have been able to obtain do not have enough fortitude to resist the earwig's blasts. The scientist the sniper, named Taki, attacked, had recently developed a superior form of quartz using ceramics technology, the attack being a warning to destroy his research so Gorgom couldn't claim it. For Taki is an Interpol agent. Some of Gorgom's plots Kotaro had not caught, having set up warning flags internationally, Taki just happening to catch this one.
So, wait. You used a weapon as a warning instead of using your international authority to request he be put into, at the very least, protective custody? Your plan of shooting him as a warning kind of has a few inherent flaws, dude.
Despite their efforts, the earwig mutant does get the scientist and its quartz crystal, but in a surprising turn, the scientist had captured is Taki in disguise. The deception allows Taki to lead Kotaro to the hideout using a transmitter, and in the ensuing fight, Black uses the quartz to channel the power of his rider kick into a ranged shot, weakening the monster enough to play victim to his regular rider punch and kick combo. In the wrap-up, Taki tells Kotaro he isn't alone in his battle, potentially alluding to the other Kamen Riders and others that would be willing to help him when they can. We really don't get to see them in this series, though. Speaking of people that need help urgently, the priests end up in a panic as Shadow Moon's life force is dwindling, and they can't seem to stop the deterioration. They need to give him an infusion of life energy, but only a relative will be compatible for this. So they need to abduct Nobuhiko's sister, Kyoko. They call it the Taper Mutant, using its ability to tap into dreams to track her down. However, the manner in which it does this is rather invasive, meaning others are being affected in the search, to the point Kotaro is noticing the effects on bypassers. He finds them too late, as they've already found Kyoko's dream sphere, which they can use to control her. Using the connection, they influence her dreams, telling Kyoko to head towards the light. Her childhood memories under the guise of saving Nobuhiko, where they set up a trap. She is taken down into a cave and influenced to sacrifice her life force to revive her brother, as a willing offering will provide the best means of transfer. Kotaro finds some clues left by Kyoko with respect to her disappearance, arriving in the area and finding the cave Kyoko is hidden in as the transfer begins. Kotaro can't wake Kyoko, and is then ambushed by the Tapir mutant, leading to a fight where the Kaijin does its best to stall the rider as long as he can, but eventually makes a mistake that gives Black the upper hand. With the Tapir mutant dead, the life transfer is halted, and Kyoko's essence returned to her body. Though Kyoko has been saved, enough has been given to Nobuhiko to sustain his life indefinitely, though not enough for Shadow Moon to awaken in turn. Suffice it to say, the Creation King is not happy the Battle of the Century Kings continues to be delayed, using his power to punish the priests from afar. He then orders them to awaken an ancient mutant, something the trio are hesitant to do, for this mutant isn't like the others. He was a former potential candidate to become a Century King 30,000 years back, and after attempting a rebellion was sealed away. This is Birugenia, and as someone who's been napping for longer than recorded human history, he's a bit rusty, thus organizes a warm-up to see how much he needs to re-level. In a museum, Kotaro sees a weapon exhibit being put together, one of the pieces being a shield that bears a similar mark to the one over his rider form's left breast. Investigating trips Birugenia's trap, the black cat mutant drawing Kotaro to a field where he reveals himself. Birugenia easily overwhelms Black's defenses with his sword, and with such a severe disadvantage, Black calls the battle hopper to evac him from the field. As Kotaro heals himself, Birugenia returns to the Gorgom base and mocks the priests at how weak Gorgom has become over the millennia, if their enemy, a Century King at that, could be so easily taken down by him. Birugenia comes up with a new ruse, attacking random people to call out Black. When the writer shows, the Birugenia he battles is in fact a fake, his sword used as a means of possession. When the real one shows, Black still struggles to gain any type of advantage against the Kaijin's multiple sword arts. A fluke lightning strike hits the area, striking Birugenia's sword, injuring him enough to warrant retreat. With the first exchange having ended, Black clearly still has a long way to go before he can challenge him on an even floor. The priests, still infuriated that their failures forced their master to reawaken the Swordsman, do what most bosses do: take it out on their subordinates. So, they're executing Professor Kuramatsu. He is saved, surprisingly enough, by Birugenia, but only so the Swordsman can steal his face. Yeah, it's one of those plots, where a bad guy disguises himself in order to get close to the protagonist. It's for the most part played straight. Birugenia and Kuramatsu's guys leading Kotaro around by the nose. The writer none the wiser for once.
What can I say? Birugenian didn't give a lot of tells.
The swordsman is backed up by the Eye mutant when he springs the trap, but the weaker mutant fights unassisted as Birugenia observes, likely trying to learn more of Black's skills in the event the writer finds some way to counter his own. And sure enough, when the kaijin goes down and he steps in, Birugenia has put these observations to good use, keeping as much of an advantage as he had before, and even stopping the intervention of the battle hopper with his shield. Fortunately for Black, he has more than one bike, the split focus providing enough of a window for the road sucker to slam into him and get the swordsman to retreat for now.
And if you think Kuramatsu will be serving Birugenia exclusively now, think again, for his corpse is found later off screen by the police. So much for a human antagonist.
The priests likewise have given the Bat Mutant a standing order to observe Kotaro from afar to find any weaknesses, the most prevalent of which being his kind art towards others, specifically children. Why eludes me, but it is one of the better ways to write in kid plots are those where the protagonist helps people he doesn't know, by writing the events so it shows character aspects. After Kotaro helps a little girl try to find her lost doll, the girl's family is offered to be moved free of charge to a larger domicile. Living space is always at a premium in Japan, so a larger house for nothing from them is certainly an offer that is hard to refuse. The family's house is then used as a trap for Kotaro, which is where things get a little weird. The writer experiencing a multitude of illusions meant to throw him off balance before he's thrown into the pocket dimension of the anemone mutant. Though as he prepared to transform, the trio warned him pollen in the air will ignite if he tries. Apparently the heat release from the Kingstone when it creates the transformation is extreme, a reason why the last 20 episodes have concurrently had steam burst off of Black's rider form after changing. Excellent utilization of visual cues and giving them a purpose, by the way. Worse, backup from Battle Hopper is stopped by the priest sealing it in an energy cage. This doesn't last, as Kotaro's evasion of attacks ends up causing the priest to slam an enemy into the cage, short-circuiting it. Battle Hopper gets the girl out, and Kotaro transforms, calling their bluff, and defeating the kaijin. As much of Kotaro's sudden reinforcements keep coming from his vehicles, the priests call upon the Jewel Beetle mutant to spread its swarm over the area, tracking down and infesting the Battle Hopper, which causes it to go wild in the next battle.
Understandable. Gorgom did make the pike, so they would know if one of their mutants had an ability that could harm it. It's still questionable why they didn't do it earlier, but at least they thought about it.
This naturally worries Kotaro, as the Battle Hopper is his closest and longest ally in battle, and like I've said, it is close to reaching true sentience. To make things worse, Birugenia appears and tries to claim Battle Hopper for himself, but the insectoid bike is having none of that. Meanwhile, Bishion prepares missiles to be fired upon a dam, which Kotaro is tipped off to, diverting him from this personal crisis. Kotaro is ordered to give up his Kingstone or she'll fire the missiles, setting a timer on them as the Jewel Beetle mutant intercedes. As time runs short, Black summons the road sector, but for all its power, it can't climb the rocky walls of the quarry like the Battle Hopper can. Refocusing his efforts to get rid of the kaijin so he can climb the terrain unimpeded, he destroys it and shuts down the missiles, before returning to deal with the Battle Hopper. Using the road sector, he rams the Battle Hopper, damaging it enough to smash the parasites out of it, but not to the point it cannot regenerate its damage. Battle Hopper blinks its lights in a semblance of gratitude, returning to Kotaro's side. Now, y'all remember the Wasp mutant from last time, right? Well, it has a sibling, the Sword Wasp mutant, which Birugenia and the priests are using as part of its plan to claim a weapon called the Solar Beam Cannon from a scientist.
Clearly this man taught Grass-type Solar Beam later in life.
The scientist's son is, ironically, wary of Black, having had a prophetic dream concerning the rider, trying to kill Kotaro to stop what he believes is coming. As a result, Kotaro is distracted when Gorgom proceeds with their heist, and in chasing after them, Birugenia gets the kid as collateral. He threatens the kid's life, ordering him not to evade the attacks thrown at him by the Sword Wasp mutant. Kotaro calls in the road sector, which gives Kotaro an opening to retaliate, but Birugenia retreats with the kid, leaving a trail by which Black follows into a trapped mirror room. But once more the road sector leads to their escape, Black getting the father and son power out, before dealing with the Sword Wasp and the weapon. This is where in continuity the first Black movie occurs. The film, Hurry to Onigashima, was made for the Toei Manga Matsuri Film Festival, and premiered in March of 1988, and it opens with a kid being eaten by a Volkswagen Beetle.
Well, I think I've had my nightmare fuel for the month. This will clearly be the next Five Nights at Freddy's clone.
The chameleon mutant behind this abduction repeats it with a bunch of innocuous inanimate objects, even mimicking Audrey 2 from Little Shop of Horrors. As the chameleon mutant hasn't exactly been subtle about his kidnappings, Black is already on the case, attacking the monster. However, its shape-shifting powers help it to get the upper hand on Black to the point of restraining him, only for Birugenia to intervene and break Black's bonds. This allows Chameleon to escape with its victims, while Birugenia holds Black's attention. As Black is still outmatched by the Swordsman, he calls in the road sector to back him up once again, forcing Birugenia, who still can't counter it, to retreat. The Creation King punishes his subjects for Birugenia's arrogance in interfering with an operation, despite likely saving the Kaijin from an early death. However, the priests have more to do. See, the kids are being prepped to be turned into new mutants.
No, not those new mutants.
Using an artifact known as the God's Eye, Gorgom is kept hidden for such a purpose. Kotaro, as there are tens of thousands of kids in Tokyo alone, has been on the prowl since he first heard about the abductions, but happens to catch a break when he passes by a bus which is throwing flyers out of it for a children's survival school. Yeah, this is just too obvious for Kotaro's instincts to ignore. And his intuition proves right, as the instructor for the school does indeed prove to be the chameleon mutant. However, Kotaro loses the bus around a bend, only just stopping himself from tumbling off a cliff. Kotaro sees a nearby fisherman, wondering if he saw any Shotaro Ishinomori! Wow, that is something I did not expect to see. The creator of Kamen Rider in a Kamen Rider movie! But back on topic, Shotaro has heard the cries of children coming from an island off the coast, the titular Onigashima. Shotaro offers his boat to Kotaro to make the rescue, and the pair head off, as Dorum and Bishkin prepare the children that are suitable for conversion, for the time draws near when the sun would be right for the change. Yes, apparently their artifact is solar-powered.
Which begs the question why they didn't just spring for a sunroof.
Kotaro enters the cave only to be ambushed by multiple chameleon mutants. Apparently it can replicate itself. By transforming, he breaks through a wall into the conversion lab and breaks the bonds of two of the victims, only to fall prey to a trap door set in the floor, right above restraints strong enough to hold Black. Yes, for once they planned on Black figuring out their location, using the opportunity to convert Black into a proper Century King, and then forcing him to watch as the rest of the children are made into their army.
Dear sanity, do I love competent villains.
But Black's Kingstone flashes, blasting away the priests and giving Black enough power to break free. Though the chameleons try to bum rush Black, they fail, and the rider smashes the God Eye, resulting in the temple somehow losing stability. Black shepherds the kids out before engaging the chameleons yet again. Though they try to restrain him from all sides, Black breaks free, and like with the spider mutant, slams the lesser bodies with rider punches before finishing the prime with his rider kick. With Gorgom's plot thwarted, Black gets the kids off the island using Shotaro's boat and back to their homes. Episode 23 is rather unique, but it starts off stock, with the anemone mutant attacking people with its telekinetic powers and common objects. Black catches on early and rider punches the thing's head off, but it has a second brain, meaning not only is it not dead, the body retreating, but the first head is not dead either. It instead lands next to a boy who's placing an offering for his dead and buried pet when he finds the shrunken ammonite and thus becomes a worshipper of the Helix fossil.
It's a mutant abomination made up of a shell and tentacles. How the hell is this cute? Dear God, this explains so much about tentacle hentai.
The kid takes the ammonite home and names it Marimo, but his mother, being smarter than him, doesn't want it in her house. So he takes Marimo to a lot, where the ammonite mutant finds them. The kid shields Marimo from it until Kotaro shows, fighting off the Kaijin, before being surprised at the boy's defense of the mutant brain. The kid tries to defend it from Kotaro as well, having formed a bond with the brain in a short time, to the point Marimo tries to revive the kid's dead pet, injuring itself in the process. The ammonite mutant, however, senses its other half and returns. Though Kotaro tries to fight it off once more, it does manage to claim its Psy brain and reattaches it, and so Black has no other option but to kill it in its entirety. The boy was injured in this fight though, but Marimo, with the last of its life, uses that power to heal him, showing that though the Kaijin in its entirety may have been evil, there was still a spark of kindness within it.
I like this episode, as it's a nice parallel to some events we will see later, and before with creatures such as Mogura, about how evil can consume good beings, and also about nature versus nurture. One could reason that Marimo was still malevolent when the kid first found it, merely biding its time to rejoin itself. But the care the kid helped show it as a side of itself, it never knew, and wanted to return that kindness it was given. Something the rest of its body could not accept, so when it was reclaimed by the whole, that side was suppressed in the final fight with Black. See, this is what I love about this franchise. When you read into and analyze the gems of it, you can see some very complex and well thought out storytelling.
Moving on, episode 24 opens with a coelacanth mutant rising from a lake, creature from the Black Lagoon style, proceeding to attack various women. The Gaijin is actually doing this against his will, as it was a recently converted mutant. Actually, previously a teaching professor who doesn't want to be a mutant at all. However, his attempts to suppress his mutant side are repeatedly thwarted by the siren call of his masters, abducting more women, including Katsumi, in its attacks. That ambush is thwarted by Kotaro, though not entirely effectively, as Katsumi suddenly gains the power to walk on walls.
And sadly, Spider-Gwen, she is not.
She is claimed again, and exposition is given on their purpose. Like with the earlier plot with the faked crashes and paramedics, the means is to turn the abductees into a private Gorgom army. As Kotaro searches for them using a lead on the professor, he falls through a trap door, coming across a group of kids. These are another group of failed soldiers of Gorgom, which had been exposed to a treatment based on mutant longevity to indefinitely stall their aging. They've been there for 10 years, and yet have not aged a day. To be fair, the child actors they selected for these parts are a cut above what's expected, the group acting much older than their appearance would show. However, there isn't much use for a soldier that never grows out of short shorts, thus they have been delegated to being lab rats. The kids lead Kotaro to the abducted women, where the professor comes across them and attacks with Force Lightning! Again, not something you usually see in this franchise. But Kotaro's been hit with worse, and covers the kids as they get the women out, though one of their number falls from more electricity blasts. Naturally, this enrages the rider, shown in his more direct method of dispatching the Gaijin, even through the blast he is hit by. The kids set their fallen member to rest, as now that they are free, they must find something new to live for however long they may have. Though you've probably been wondering what Birugeni has been up to since the movie. Well, he's been overseeing one of the priest's other projects, the backwards engineering of the road sector. Their initial tests have not gone well, but the Mantis mutant was recently dispatched to find an abducted disciple of the Superbike's original creator. Kotaro, however, intervenes and saves the man, named Agami. However, his wife and kid are taken, giving him an ultimatum to make the motorcycle, and so Agami has no choice but to accept, building them their weapon. However, he sneaks out a transmitter which he tunes so the road sector can detect it, leading Kotaro right to them. Black defends Agami and his family from the Mantis mutant and defeats it easily. However, Birugeni's new bike is still around and a problem, leading to a face-off. One Black in the road sector struggles to match. However, he does have one advantage: familiarity with his equipment. As Birugeni's bike was meant to equal and outmatch the road sector in every way, it has common circuitry, to the point of being a duplicate. Thus, he creates a malfunction in the bike's processor, which is then transmitted to Birugeni's bike, blowing them both out. This leads to Black being able to destroy the Swordsman's bike, but Birugeni survives to fight another day. His day, however, is coming.